Welcome back to the place where our crazy dreams seem just a little less crazy. Mark Haney is our Chief Dreaming Officer. He knows the right people, the right tactics, and the right philosophies to win. He is the entrepreneur next door, and this is The Mark Haney Show.
Welcome back to The Mark Haney Show. I am now joined by Danielle Casey. She's the Executive VP at GSAC. How you doing, Danielle?
I'm doing pretty good, Mark. I'm drinking from a fire hose. It's been about 2 weeks on the ground here.
Wow, 2 weeks in Sacramento. Let's get to know you and what brought you here to Sacramento.
So I have known the notorious Barry Broom for a long time throughout my economic development career. Okay. And I ran into Barry last fall at a conference, and he pulled me in aside and he said, "You have no idea all the amazing things going." It sounded like you going on in Sacramento and what's happening at Greater Sacramento Economic Council. And we sat down and talked, and then continued our discussions over a series of months, talking about what it would look like to actually work together, because we had been colleagues in the past. And I'll tell you, his inspirational story about what Greater Sacramento is doing, what the community is pulling together to make happen, really blew me away. And then coming to visit Sacramento on the ground several times throughout the spring, I was like, this is a community I need to get involved in.
The notoriously awesome Barry Broom, I may add. He was on the show one time, and I said, "Barry, let's talk about your leadership style. How would you describe it?" He said, "All out, all in, face down in the blood." Now, you're attracted to that kind of thing, obviously. Okay, what are you two doing here in Sacramento? What is GSAC all about?
Well, that's something I'm learning about. But what I can tell you is, being in a community outside of Sacramento and looking in, people, and Barry will say this, people around the country have really thought that Sacramento is by LA. They have no framework for where it's at or what's going on, and they haven't seen it as an economic development player on a regional scale. That is changing. I'm seeing that reputation change nationally from an economic development perspective, in the business community, with C-suite executives, with site selectors and other decision makers from a business standpoint. And that's because this regional play is so critical. Bringing communities together to think bigger as a collective, and also changing that brand and really getting out and telling the story. There's a huge story. There's amazing things happening from a university side to, working on true action plans and strategies to get us to the next level in economic development.
Well, how do you think Sacramento is known? I mean, we're beginning to get known. You're seeing that. But what was your impression before Barry moved here, or maybe even prior to that? So thinking about how most people view the Sacramento region.
Sleepy government town, very government heavy. And so coming in and seeing what's going on in the downtown area, looking at all of the very big game-changing opportunities for development in all of the communities in the region. So I'm very excited. I'm going to go out and tour every single community that is a member of Greater Sacramento and get to know the area, because I think, the best way to do it is on the ground and hearing each one of their stories. My background, I come from the community side, from the municipal government side, so I can identify certainly with the pressures and the strains and the everyday work that they have to address. And I have a very good sense of what they need from a regional partner, but every community and region is different.
How would you say that you were in the Phoenix area before, right?
Correct.
How would you compare our opportunity to what's happened in Phoenix?
Well, I think the big thing that's going on here, and there's some good models in Phoenix, but again, every region is different. Looking at the university systems, seeing what's going on with, now having a downtown office with Sac State. I got to join that celebration this week. Nice. Super exciting, great energy. But seeing those investments and all of the plans that are in the pipeline for things like Aggie Square, this can be truly game-changing, because every corporate decision I'm seeing nationally is driven by talent, access to talent, cost of talent, and being a location of choice for that talent is going to drive a location of choice for companies. And us being the California option, all of that workforce development is going to play in together beautifully. And I think it's going to position us to be at the forefront on a national scale long term.
Well, let's get to know Danielle Casey personally. Tell us about, how did you grow up, and what's your background prior to getting in this economic development stuff?
Right. I'm an Air Force brat.
Okay.
So any other branches here, just forgive me. But I've lived from for various reasons from Rhode Island now to California, about 8 different states. So I consider myself just a child of the mainland U.S. And so it's been a wild ride. I think I can parachute into any community. It makes you very resilient. It makes you also appreciate the culture of every community that you're in, and allow you to integrate. So that's my personal background. My economic development background in the greater Phoenix area was first with a more rural community that was a startup organization. We took it from 5,000 to about 50,000 residents in 8 years, and I had the chance to oversee building a city hall, creating a fire and police department from the ground up. I issued the first press release for that city government ever. And then going to the city of Scottsdale that was dealing with, not greenfield development and infrastructure like that community, but a community that had 20% of the corporate headquarters and regional operations, really a huge amount of C-suites, and we were dealing with Fortune 100s very frequently in that community. It was 5% of the metro population, but 20% of the corporate headquarters operations. So gives me a little bit of a diverse experience.
Thinking about diverse experience. So we were talking earlier in the show about Marcus and I liking to chase shiny objects. Not everybody is that way, but I find that when I'm talking to entrepreneurial people, we tend to be that way. Are you that type of person? Are you somebody who can really maintain a focus? And if so, how do you do it?
I think I can do everything. But so there's a few things. My role with Greater Sacramento with Barry is, as Barry is definitely a shiny object guy, but he's a visionary. So he's out really looking at best practices nationally and figuring out how we can top that, and thinking about the assets in the community and how we develop that and really change and influence the economy in dramatic ways. I will be working with the team operationally to make sure that everything is humming along and we're a best practices organization. I can tell you, coming in and just in a week and a half, seeing how hard this team is working and the type of talent we have on board is Greater Sac is hitting above its weight class when I've seen other economic development organizations. So kudos to the community, because that doesn't help work without community involvement and all of our supporters and partners. However, if you're not innovating in economic development, you're dying. So us always considering what's next and pushing the envelope in terms of ideas and really thinking about what Sacramento needs to be a national player.
So you parachute into to the hometown we love here in Sacramento. Are you married, single, kids?
I have myself and a really amazing English bulldog named Sophie.
Single and ready to mingle in a new town.
There you go.
Okay,
this is my advertisement. I swear.
So we're parachuting in. Danielle,
I don't have
Casey.
time for that, though.
We've got laughter in the audience background there. This is not staged laughter. So you parachute into town here. I'm wondering, what you're into this sleepy government town, parachuting in from a big city like Phoenix, right? Mm-hmm. You walk in. What's the emotion as you parachute in alone?
Scary.
With your dog, I'm sorry.
Well, because of Sophie, and she's a large English bulldog, so I'm not afraid. Yeah. But no, I've located myself right in the middle of Midtown, so I can be close to the Greater Sacramento offices for obvious reasons, because I'm spending a lot of time there, surprisingly, and also really getting a sense of the community and the vibe. And I'll tell you what, it's wonderful. I've through economic development travels, I've spent time in pretty much every major metro in the country, and it is very exciting. I don't think anyone, again, from outside of this region realizes what's going on, and also I'm looking forward to seeing all of our communities in the region, because they all have something really amazing and special going on, and they're doing some innovative things. Elk Grove just recently passed a forgivable loan program that I think that model is going to be game changing for them and other
forgivable
communities.
Loan. I've never heard of anything like that before. Yeah. That's kind of sounds like someone giving money, right? Is that like a grant?
Right. And it was just at their city council meeting last week with approval. So definitely I would advise folks to keep an eye on that.
Gonna get into that story. Well, thank you for, first of all, welcome to Sacramento. Welcome to our hometown. Anything I can do to help what you and Barry are doing over there at GSAC, you know how to get a hold of me. Thank you, and hopefully this is the beginning of great things for you here in Sacramento.
Thank you so much, Mark. I'd love to come back soon.
Love it. Don't change the station, because after the break, guess who we're bringing on? Mr. Ethan Wilson, president of Western Grinding Services. He's also a national champion in go-karting, and he is, guess what, folks? He's my new next-door neighbor. I am the entrepreneur next door, and this is the Mark Haney Show.